Righto, you're listening to Russell Brand on 6 Music. That was Dinosaur Jr. We've been talking about irrational hatreds, right, on the show, because I do hate the marathon a bit. When it's on, just, the marathon. What's the distinction you want to draw, Matt?
Well, I think there's the sporting event, isn't there, and then there's the bit where everyone dresses up and runs.
Why? What do you think that you...
Well, I think they're separate, aren't they? You can't... Do you hate the whole...
I hate the whole concept of it. For me, it's just one blur. It's just the marathon's happening. It's that thing. It's that sort of... There's a sort of a jocundity, a kind of jocular, we're having a marathon. It does make me feel excluded, so it might be a bit because of, like, if you went out to do cross-country runs at school, it was all a wheezing humiliation. Why? Did you like cross-country runs?
No, I hated it. I hated the feeling of it. I was just thinking then, do you reckon one of the people dressed as a rhino will ever win the sporting event?
No, of course not. Immediately you decided to go dressed as a rhino. You're just doing it out of a good-natured, we're raising money.
They were really good, like an ex-runner, and...
He's an ex-runner. I'm not attacking the individuals. I think it's the mood that it conjures up, and probably that it makes me feel a sense of alienation. Got some text messages here. Sally from Hull goes, I hate St John's ambulance. She hates St John's ambulance. That's a good irrational hatred, isn't it?
Really irrational.
Oh, as well as that, he hates trendy people. But these are not sort of irrational hatreds, are they? Because like you sort of think, trendiness. You can understand a hatred of that because it's exclusive, isn't it? This is much more in the territory of irrational hatred. This is from Daniel Melbourne, Australia. That's good. Well, keep listening, Daniel. I'm glad you're here, all the way across the world and the whole other hemisphere. He goes, a Korean friend of mine has an irrational fear of chickens. We will have to drive around whole suburbs if there is even a possibility of live chickens in the area. I think that's a possibility which always exists. You can never rule out that there are going to be chickens.
It's difficult to tell, isn't it? Yeah.
Is that linked to bird flu, or is that...
There's no link to bird flu, because this is in Australia where bird flu is but a myth. It says, yet strangely, this girl, she herself, eats chicken in disturbing quantities with the headstrong theory that if she eats them, there will be less of them in the world for her to worry about. She's waging sort of genocide against chickens. She's like Herod. She's a poultry Herod. I think she thinks one day a chosen chicken will come and lead the chickens against her. I think she is mental. She's seen a psychiatrist about this and nothing has helped. That does seem like a little bit worrying, that does, doesn't it?
But it's got a name. Has it got a name, this chicken phobia?
I reckon it probably does, yeah. I would say so, Trevor. You know, so if you've got an irrational hatred, it's an irrational fear we could tolerate as well, I reckon. Then let's hear all about it. Should we have a listen to Gomez now?
Yes.
Why don't we? Well, what this item has exposed, talking about all these irrational fears and hatreds, is that Great Britain is a nation of neurotics. We're scared of things.
And people from Melbourne.
People from Melbourne. Oh, God, it's the whole world.
He's probably a
Dublin
British
as
person
well.
on holiday.
Yeah, Jenny May, I think, is Irish, so at least it ain't just British people. But gosh, it's an alarming condition. People are scared of wet tissues. There's somebody here saying they're scared of combs, clock parts.
Stickers on apples.
Stickers on apples. I tell you what, if Killer Keller had the ability with sounds that you have, he wouldn't make a bean, would he? He'd be desolate. He'd be living in the studio. He'd be living in the studio. No, he couldn't live here. We're far too busy. Okay, so I'll tell you what, we're going to have more chat from Keller, and we're going to have more, we're going to try and work out what on earth Trevor's Sonic Enigma or Trevor Made a Noise competition is. But first, let's have some Arctic Monkeys.
Not here. Oscar, I've just met a girl named Maria. Oh, I'm here again.
Ooh, Judas!
No, that was a different year.
What is Trevor on about there? So we heard that there's the Russian speaking. We now know that's a reference to Yuri Gagarin. We've heard, I just met a girl called Maria. We know that's a reference to West Side Story. Judas. So is it some sort of biblical song? Well, Judas there's obvious musical connotations to the use of the word Judas. You think Dylan, do you?
Well, it makes me think of that.
Well, I just hope you ain't giving it away. Now, I've got an email here. Remember Daniel earlier from Australia emailed us. It's nice. There's people listening to us in Australia. Matt went to Australia once, nearly fell out of a little boat, didn't he?
I did fall out of a boat.
You did fall out of a boat. Matt went sailing. He thought he figured he was some sort of Rod Stewart character.
I
He
thought I'd
came
work
across.
it out when I was doing it, and I realised that there's a culture of sailing and a history for a reason.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's probably complicated to do. What happened? You fell out of the boat and nearly died.
Had to be rescued.
Had to be rescued.
Couldn't tie the knots when they said tie that to the starboard side. I didn't know what that meant.
Tie that to the starboard side. And of course,
these knots?
Australian people are very macho, aren't they? Particularly the men. So
Especially
they
when
must
an
have really
Englishman's in
undermined
the
you.
water. Yeah, it was awful.
You've
I did
let down
it was
England
really
there, mate.
dangerous. Shark-infested water.
Shark-infested waters.
Yeah, where
Oh,
they film Home and Away.
Is it? Why do they film it home and away in shark-infested waters?
They
Well,
don't
I think
film it in the
would be
water,
upbeat.
do they? I don't know if
suppose
you've
not.
ever seen Home and Away. It's on land.
I thought it was some sort of subaquatic drama, Matt. I always viewed it thusly. Oh, I don't know, Keller. I wonder if you can make, like, you know, now that Trevor has polluted our ears, could you do another 10 seconds of beatboxing for us? It just cleans things up.
Okay.
It's like a sorbet. It's like a sorbet for our ears after Trevor's racket, isn't it? Right, so we've got this email from Australia we're going to go back to. You're going to be doing loads of stuff on Six Music this week, aren't you, Cal?
That's right, the Six Mix, next Sunday.
Next Sunday night you're on the Six Mix.
Yeah,
what was that
what's
like?
the times on that?
8 o'clock on the Six Mix.
8 o'clock. Yeah, it's a whole different. It's across the board music, right the way across it. I'm hosting and introducing. Each
Oh,
song
brilliant.
along.
And do you think you'll be alright at doing that, or do you think you're going to really nose it up?
Well, I'll probably nose it up to a part, but, you know, hopefully they get the little editing cuts on all. I've got the rest of the crew there, so it should be alright.
You'll be okay, you're well supported. And is there anything else you're doing on Six Music this week?
No.
Well, that's enough, isn't it? That'll do. You know, you're on our show. For heaven's sake, the man wants the earth.
What more do you need?
You've got an incredible hip-hop ego on you. I'm surprised that Pharrell didn't think, instead of liking you and encouraging you, Pharrell thought, oh, hello, he's a bit of a challenge, blimey, I want to watch this lad. So you're on my MTV show, One Leicester Square,
That's right, tonight, yeah.
That's going to be a brilliant laugh. We've got some excellent stuff on there, and we went and visited Tim Westwood round his house. That's an incredible VT, we call it in the trade. Just watch out for that. That's MTV, 8 o'clock. Keller's going to be on that with us. Let's go back to this email. It was from Daniel in Australia, the country where Matt disgraces England by floundering about in the water like a pansy. Says, you've still got issues about it, haven't you? You're still afraid because as a result of that. Still afraid of water. A very rational fear, because water is something that will, I believe, one day vanquish you. Daniel goes, thanks for reading out my email earlier. My guess at this week's answer is, we're having a go at the competition. Black Maria, The Betrayal. Trev, is it that?
It's not that one. No,
It's not
I've
that.
never heard of that one.
That's
No
in the
idea.
old police fan.
What's that, mate?
Black Mariah,
Black Mariah.
I think.
Okay, well, is why? That
what
was the name of police fans, was it?
Yeah,
in the old days.
They were
That would
called
have
Black
undermined.
Mariahs.
Oh, look at that Mariah! That would have, for me, that would have made a riot seem a lot more enticing,
Yeah.
and I enjoy them anyway. So it says here, too far away to take part in this, probably, but well, no, you're never too far away to contribute in Trevor Done a Noise. Wherever you are in the globe, you can contribute. Do you want to have another listen to that? See if you can guess.
Yes, Cosmos here. Oscar, I've just met a girl named Maria. Oh, I'm here again. Judas! No, that was a different year.
What could that be? If you think you know what track Trevor is referring to in his addled mind, what, Matt?
I just don't think geography's got any handle on getting that. I think it's
not about where you are on the planet, it's
no.
where you are psychologically.
Yeah.
If you've been in an institution for the last decade, that probably makes sense to you. That would probably sound like a beautiful, articulated, typical BBC announcement, the likes of which you'll never hear on this show. There's a PS from Daniel in Melbourne, Australia. P.S. Little Baldy Pilkington is top shelf. Misses moaning and rubbish already. Don't know why he's not a permanent fixture on the show. Let me tell you why. Because Carl Pilkington is on holiday today. He's gone to Rye. He'll turn up from time to time on the show. We'll have him. But you can't have Carl Pilkington in the studio all the time. You've heard how that mind works. Also, you know, he works with Ricky Gervais a lot, doesn't he? So I think, you know, and he's a very unpopular figure in English comedy. I think Ricky Gervais, we don't want to be tainted with that idea. He's completely brilliant, says about Carl Pilkington. Well, I reckon Carl's probably listening in Rye, so there you are, Carl. People love you. We love you and all. So what should we do now? What track's going to happen now, chaps? Matthew?
It's Lush with 500 Shake Baby Shake.
Wow, let's listen to that. That'd be fun.
BBC 6 Music. Classic BBC session track.
Sarah Brown, who reckon you're aged 1.5 from Peterhead. That's what she says. We've got no reason to dispute that. Hello again, Russ, and those other two blokes. That means dear old Matt, who's driving the desk, and Trevor Locke, who's taken a bit of time off from a spree of rodent killing to present this radio show. Personally, I quite like the sound that an ATM makes just before it spits out money. That's what she's written.
Doesn't do that.
It does. It goes. Beep, 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 beep. No, but sometimes you can hear the whirring of the money, the internal mechanism of the money being prepared or
I
counted.
suppose it beeps when you get your card. And then, no, when the money comes out, it has a little alarm beep that means.
Yeah, well, look,
Hurry up,
Matthew, look at here. It says foot. It's not gone beep,
right.
beep,
I
beep.
thought that was your interpretation. Okay.
No, I'm not a German expressionistic
It's just
performer.
the foot.
No, it says FFT. Foot.
Maybe.
It does
Right.
do that, yeah.
Right, a frequent lack of money in the bank often means I don't get to hear this sound as often as I'd like, but in a perfect world I could listen to it all day. I think I like it because mentally I associate the sound with personal gain. That's a good bit of
That is
analysis.
mental, yeah.
It's Daniel
Intricate begging letter. I love the sound, but I don't hear it often enough.
I was ever so poor, so I hear the jingle jangle of coppers rattling around in my ragged trousers, so as I do. I think Daniel, that might be from the Daniel from Australia that was talking to us last week. I hope it is. Hello, Daniel. Oh, even if it's not, hello, Daniel, but I wonder if it is. So if you do speak to Carl Pilkington today, Pilkington, it says actually, if you do speak to Carl Pilkington, be sure to ask him what he thought of Brokeback Mountain. I think it's safe to assume that he saw it as a biographical film, the way that fella carries on his life. What should we have a listen to now, then?
Orange juice.
Yeah, why? Oh, I like that. Yeah, it's uplifting.
BBC 6 Music. Classic BBC session track.
The Raconteurs there with Hands. That's their new single, ain't it? Is it? I don't know about things like that, but I think it is a single. It is. We're talking about Holiday Stay on this 6 Music show that I, Russell Brand, present with Matt Morgan and Cocky Trevor Lockie. Pete, the bedroom man, he's what I can only describe as a friend of the show. He says, we went to Spain with some mates. At the first night fancy dress party attended by other European holidaymakers, my mate went as Hitler. That's the end. We Brits are a curious breed. We're not going to let go of that war just yet. This is from Daniel. I was on holidays in northern Queensland here in Australia once. Hey, hello person in Australia, Q Matt. I went to Australia because I loved this girl. Then we were on a boat. Then I was in the sea. Then I was friends with her brother. Then I come home again because she didn't love me properly and I was frightened. It got to the point where I was
making
bored.
light of my life. I was in love with a girl. I moved to Australia.
Then I had to come back because I don't know how to do a relationship.
I did. It was
It
her
got to
fault.
the point where it was not her fault. That girl, that's the best decision that girl ever made. I was bored and just filling in the days, says Daniel, trying to find something to do. I saw some old people, so I followed them. What an odd thing to do when you see an old person.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, you followed them. They walked into some sort of bingo parlour, so I thought I'd best just go and keep an eye on them. I'd not played bingo before. I was 22 at the time, and suddenly I realised I was the only person in the room under 60. Miraculously, I ended up winning $50. As I went to collect my winnings, a snidey old man in the crowd muttered to his wife as he threw his bingo paper in a bin, "Shh, look at him. He's got his..." Oh, no, he's Australian. "Look at him. He's got his whole life to win stuff. Bloody hell." The whole mood of the place, because that's what they're like. The whole mood of the place changed after that win. It was it was scary. Like the old people were rising up against an infiltrator.
Imagine that.
Would have been scary if they all started closing in on him, all with fingers, all withered hands, all tapering off and getting thinner. And then go, "He's not among us. Let's make him one of us." Like that, all old.
Yeah, like what's that?
Like Freaks. Like that film Freaks.
Yeah.